are they?
Right, so the purpose of the presentation is we're starting to give different presentations to either people joining the company or investors potentially, and we're obviously very conscious that we've now got a Fareham office, a Birmingham office, and lots of people out on the road doing the clinical roles. So the idea is to share, if possible, the same presentation with everyone, which is quite challenging given that we're all in different places. So I'm going to Fareham tomorrow and I'm videoing it so we can then share it on YouTube. So next slide. So the main idea is just to share, because as you know, we're trying to improve the way we communicate. So just to share to make sure everyone's getting exactly the same message. So this is our mission statement, often called or described as the what, how, why. So effectively this just explains what we're all working towards, and we all play an important part to do that. And certainly we've got a vision to develop as a clinical service provider, so we're doing ultrasound now, we're starting to do other pathway work with DVTs, but we've got a vision, and John's very busy working at lots of other new things that are coming as well in the future. So, most of you know the directors, but often we're presenting and people don't know who we are, so next slide. John, as you know, founded the business, got a huge amount of experience in this sector, pretty much knows everyone, and they know him. And as we know, following the MBO that we did in May, we've restructured, so John is very much responsible for revenue and transformation within the business. Sue, I haven't got a picture, we've only got a picture for John for some reason, but Sue, as we know, is now Head of Patient Services, wealth of experience in large companies and small companies, a clinical background, which I think is a big positive for what we do, and most importantly, as Head of Patient Services, has done a lot of the different roles within the business, so understands, having done the role, what is then needed. And then myself, for those of you who don't know, I've got a healthcare background. I ran a surgical implant company for a number of years, which I grew and sold before becoming an investor, and got back involved with the MBO. Again, some of you know this, some of you don't, and some of this you may not be able to see, but I'll circulate the presentation as well. John founded the company in 2006, so we're now celebrating our soon-to-be 12th birthday, and was originally just doing the hospital contracts. He then had the opportunity in a GP practice in Birmingham in 2009 to effectively be a pioneer for what now is the standard community ultrasound by having at the time a huge scanner, which was literally a trailer attached to his car, where he would be driving around Birmingham. Took 2 people to get the scanner out of the trailer to then go into a clinic and do what was supposedly a portable ultrasound clinic. As we know, it's come a long way, mainly because of the technology, and our strapline is technology transforming healthcare, because there's lots of new changes that are happening where we can say, right, let's do things differently now that technology has caught up. So as you know, now that our scanners are the size of a laptop and very portable. And so the NHS caught up and did the first wave of the new contracts. Again, John had probably been working for 10 years on lobbying for these contracts to happen. They started to happen in 2011. When I first got involved with the company, I remember taking a call. We had a tiny office, literally the size of a couple of desks, and I took a call asking to speak to somebody who I didn't recognise. And that's because John, being the entrepreneur he is, basically when you fill in a tender, you have to have loads of people responsible for different bits. So he created loads of people responsible for different bits, which actually was him. And then when we invested and then started winning the contracts, that's then when we employed the people, and we've now got 48 people in the company. Obviously we've grown. We in 2014 did the deal with TIX. 2017 did another deal with TIX. It's the year of Brexit and also TIXit. And we've got big plans really for how we go from here, really, in terms of continuing to do more ultrasound contracts, but then looking at other contracts that we can win. So as you know, this is the key part of what we do. So the whole thing is around patient services, and whether it's governance and quality, customer satisfaction, which we've got customers and consumers. Our customers who pay for the service are the NHS, the consumers are patients. So our focus is really on how do we have brilliant patient satisfaction, but also making sure our customer is happy along the way. Some of you may have heard of ISAS, which is a new accreditation and project that Natasha's leading on in the new year. Technology is at the core of what we do, and the CASMS team. And the core part within that then is patient services, finance, people and culture. Those are our three pillars that we've structured. So, as you can see, I won't read that out, you can read that for yourselves, but that's really the idea of restructuring, because from the first receipt of referral all the way to report, pretty much the vast majority of people in the company are involved at various touch points, and so we all have a really important part to play to make sure that ultimately we get brilliant patient satisfaction, and that's what we're here to do. That's another way of showing it really, whether it be from receipt of referral all the way through to sending back the referral, and also then all our quality and checks and clinical governance that go alongside, often in the background, so people possibly aren't aware that 5% of all of our scans are audited by somebody else, so that there's people beavering away just making sure that all of our clinics are being run to the highest standards. So what I wanted to do now is share effectively high level what we're doing as a business plan, and we've structured it really into these different pillars, and I've put the names of the senior management team who are responsible for those pillars. And you'll see in the next few slides just a bit more detail of we've got a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan of where we want to see the business. What I'll probably do is share these slides so people can, in the context of that, go through them. So I won't go through them line by line. But you'll see pretty much under the customer side, it's all about making sure we've got contracts in place and we're delivering to the contracts. There's a key thing around us as individuals within the team and how we engage as a team, because I think we're a great believer that it very much is, we're a sum of the parts, so it's all about teamwork, especially on those previous slides showing how many of us are involved in patient satisfaction and patient quality. We've obviously made big changes on operations in terms of our new office in Fareham and working together between the two offices. And the key thing that certainly most of us have heard over the last year is how we focus on gross margin. So gross margin effectively is operational efficiency. That's the simple equation. So the more we can be efficient with our model, the more profitable we are, and it's gross margin that pays all of our salaries. That's the most simple way I can describe it. Technology, as I say, we've come a long way already. Small scanners versus huge scanners. There's a variety of different things that we're going to be doing in the short to medium term. Funding and finance. Obviously, we've split away from TICS, but we still do have a liability with TICS. TICS effectively funded the last 3 years, and we have a debt outstanding to them. So part of my job is looking at how we refinance that debt, and our target is to have completed that by May of next year. So the person who was coming in the office today, for example, was part of that process. A key part as well for any small company is partnerships. So how do we partner with large healthcare providers, partner with the NHS Trust, partner with something called ACOs, which are the new part of the NHS in primary care. How do we partner with the large diagnostic providers? So there's a whole host of discussions that John's having at how we improve our partnerships and then leverage those partnerships. And then a key thing for business is how do we manage risk? So all of us have risk every day, and our job is how to mitigate that risk and prepare for it and plan for it, because inevitably things happen, and it's just how we react to it. Years 2 and 3, I won't go in detail, but you'll see that we've got more of a plan, especially on customer, moving away from just being ultrasound. People and culture, we've got an aim of how do we make this company the best company to work for. We know we've got a long way to go, but everyone starts somewhere. Technology, how do we look at new things that get added onto our core technology? Funding and finance, we're then, and I'll come on to our aspiration of 5 years, we're looking at how do we capitalise the business to really fund it for growth, rather than Sometimes a number of small companies, you can't do things because you haven't got the capital. Partnerships, we will have announced one for sure, or more by then, and risk will always be underlying what we do. And this is our 5-year plan, so I suppose I'll give you the headline of the one we're aspiring to, is we're now a 2.7 million revenue business. We're aspiring in 5 years' time to be a 100 million revenue business, so very different to what we are now. We'll probably do that by organic growth. From 2012 it was 60k revenue, and it's now 2.7 million, and we're almost inevitably also look at acquiring other businesses that get bolted on to what we do. Some may be the same, i.e. other diagnostic providers, some other health service providers. So I wanted to share something that you'll hear a lot about, if you haven't already, in 2018. And this is something called OKR, so Objective and Key Results, is effectively what we'll be now communicating throughout the whole business for all of the management team in terms of what we're working to. And hopefully we'll embed it within the company that everyone has their own OKRs that they're working to. And the idea is just to have complete clarity and communication of what we're focusing on. And you know, my theory is, if it works for Intel, it works for Google, which is it's embedded in their culture, then it's going to work for us. So what I wanted to do is share effectively what we are working towards, and you'll get these regular updates every quarter from now on. So these are mine for this quarter. They'll be reset for next quarter, and you'll see effectively that for me there's 2 objectives and then various key results. Obviously, Michael will then recognise certainly quite a few of these for finance, because inevitably, as heavily involved in finance, a number of them then get added on to effectively Michael's